When propaganda meets censorship and authoritarian governments collide in a world of 195 countries, who will make it out alive? Fahrenheit 451, a book with very dystopian outlooks and a cruel government, written by Roy Bradbury. In a society where books are not welcome and firemen's jobs are to burn books, Monks the fireman meets Clarice the whistleblower. Clarice shows him the knowledge within the books. Whilst Montag is having these rendezvous with Clarice, Beatty is up to something mischievous. Beatty enforces laws against books upon the citizens of this city. Montag starts to realize the censorship going throughout his hometown and starts to read and stop burning books. This is a prime example of the censorship and propaganda that TREV teachers are teaching about. Next, young Marjane Satrapi takes us through her perspective of the revolution in her autobiography Persepolis. Throughout her young life, she dreamed of meeting God every single night. Marjane is very rebellious but doesn't quite understand where and why her parents are protesting. Margie and her family are living in Iran under the Ayatollah after Reza Shah got the boot. Margie is forced to wear a veil and dress in all public settings. Margie displays her point of view before and after the revolution and shows how it affects her life. This book really shows the effect that the Iranian Revolution had on young girls in Iran, and it helps readers in TREV understand a little bit of what Margie and girls like her had to live. Later, a book was read in Q3, and it was called Refugee. This book takes you through the perspectives of 3 different families in different countries and times, struggling to take refuge out of their home countries. On the other hand, their authoritarian leaders put shackles on their freedom. In this book, you will start to grasp the struggles and hardships of being a refugee in these times and places. This is an important read in TREV because it takes you through the perspective of young teens during their unfortunate times living under authoritarian leadership. Additionally, in Animal Farm by George Orwell, when a rebellion against their former leader, Mr. Jones, 3 pigs attempt the impossible. Napoleon, Squealer, and Snowball take control over the idiots they call animals. These pigs abused their power and manipulated the other animals to a point where was getting out of hand. Abusive court trials and changing the laws in their favor, they convinced the animals they were living a better life than they had lived under Jones, but truly it was worse. This book is read in TREV because it demonstrates Joseph Stalin's time as the leader of the Soviet Union and its effects on people today. Authoritarian governments are shown all over the world in pop culture. Books like Fahrenheit 451 and Animal Farm are examples of authoritarian governments being portrayed in a literary setting. Fahrenheit takes place in a fictional dystopia where many unfair laws are enforced, demonstrating an authoritarian life. Animal Farm is similar, but it is based on true events in history, like Joseph Stalin in the Soviet Union. This is important to study in TREV because pop culture is a common way for people to express their feelings and beliefs in authoritarian governments. Books and pop culture also vary based on current events. Authoritarian governments are still a prominent problem in countries around the world to this day, countries like Russia, China, North Korea, etc. TREV assignment Laszlo helped us as students many different countries with similar authoritarian governments, especially in our authoritarian inquiry projects. We dove into individual countries and their leaders and how they used the tactics of authoritarianism to hare and maintain power over countries. This research was then presented to the class to show the amount of countries under authoritarian leadership. Some modern-day examples of authoritarian governments are China, Russia, and North Korea. They shared similarities in their leaders' tactics. These tactics are censorship, propaganda, surveillance, unfair persecution, and removal of basic rights. These are real-world events that show what makes a government authoritarian and what the signs of it are. TREV also covered refugee crisis and resettlement. In this unit, we read the book Refugee. We watched documentaries and short films about refugees and asylum seekers and the processes they had to go through to safely flee their country. It may not seem it, but there are many peers of ours that happen to be refugees, and it's important to recognize the things they had to go through to get where they are today.